Imagine a pianist who doesn't dazzle with flash, but stuns with thought. A man who made Beethoven whisper, thunder, and weep, all without ever showing off. This is the story of Alfred Brendel, the philosopher-pianist who reshaped how we hear classical music. Alfred Brendel was born on January 5, 1931, in the town of Wiesenberg, in what is now the Czech Republic. His family was not particularly musical. His father was an engineer and amateur filmmaker, and his mother, though supportive, didn't guide him toward music. But even as a child, Alfred found himself drawn to sound, poetry, and painting. He began taking piano lessons at the age of 6. When his family moved to Zagreb during World War II, he studied at the local conservatory before settling in Graz, Austria, where he continued his musical development. Oddly enough, he never had a regular teacher for long. By the time he was in his late teens, Alfred Brendel was essentially self-taught. And that independence would shape his entire approach to music, disciplined, intellectual, and deeply personal. At age 17, he gave his first public recital in Graz, performing works by Bach, Brahms, and Liszt. That same year, he composed a few pieces, wrote poetry, and even experimented with painting. But piano was calling him louder than anything else. In 1949, he entered the Ferruccio Busoni International Piano Competition in Bolzano, Italy, and won 4th prize. It wasn't a major headline, but it got him noticed by a handful of influential figures in the European classical world. Through the 1950s, Brendel performed across Europe and made several recordings with the Vox label. These recordings included Beethoven's complete piano sonatas, an incredibly ambitious project for such a young and relatively unknown pianist. Critics didn't always embrace him immediately. He didn't have the flash of Horowitz, the poetry of Rubinstein, or the fire of Richter. But Brendel was different. He wasn't about dazzle, he was about depth. Alfred Brendel's playing was marked by clarity, architectural precision, and emotional restraint. He didn't believe in bending the music to fit the ego of the performer. Instead, he felt the performer had a duty to serve the composer. He once said, "The task of the performer is to let the music speak, not to shout over it." His interpretations of Beethoven, Mozart, Schubert, and Liszt earned worldwide admiration for their structural understanding. When Brendel played Beethoven, you didn't just hear sound, you saw form. You felt the composer's thought process laid out with crystal clarity. His approach to music wasn't about technical display. It was about meaning. He wasn't afraid to leave space in the music, to hold back, to avoid excess emotion in favor of genuine expression. By the 1970s, Alfred Brendel was a household name among serious music lovers. His move to the Philips label marked a turning point. His recordings of Beethoven's concertos with Sir Simon Rattle and the Vienna Philharmonic became modern reference points. He was the first pianist in history to record Beethoven's entire solo piano works, not once, but twice. His Mozart sonatas and concertos were admired for their elegance and wit. His Schubert was introspective and poetic. His Liszt was restrained but powerful, far from the stormy showpieces others made of the music. In 1983, Brendel performed the complete cycle of Beethoven sonatas in 11 U.S. cities, a feat few have attempted. This monumental undertaking was hailed as one of the great artistic achievements of modern concert life. Brendel was not a flamboyant performer. He didn't smile at the audience. He didn't flail his arms or bang the keys. He simply walked on stage, sat at the piano, and disappeared into the music. But off stage, he was funny, witty, and even mischievous. He loved absurdist humor, adored Monty Python, and wrote poems full of dry wit. He once joked that he could have been a comedian if not a pianist. And when asked why he wore gloves while shaking hands, he replied, "To protect the audience." His humility and humor made him beloved not just by audiences, but by his peers. Brendel's talents weren't limited to music. He was a prolific writer and essayist. His book Music, Sense and Nonsense remains a favorite among musicians and scholars alike. He published collections of poetry, wrote extensively on music philosophy, and gave public lectures across the world. His thoughts on Beethoven, Schubert, and Mozart are considered essential reading for any aspiring musician. To Brendel, music wasn't a performance, it was a conversation. And his writings helped translate that conversation for a broader world. Alfred Brendel mentored a new generation of pianists, including Paul Lewis, Till Fellner, and Imogen Cooper. He taught them not to chase applause, but to chase truth. He emphasized clarity over showmanship, patience over speed, and thought over theatrics. His students say the most powerful thing he gave them was the permission to think, to reflect before they played, and to respect the music as something larger than themselves. Brendel showed that greatness isn't about being loud. It's about being honest. In 2008, Alfred Brendel gave his final public concert, performing Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 9 in Vienna. He was 77 years old. After retirement, he remained active in the world of music, attending concerts, giving lectures, writing essays, and continuing to mentor young artists. Though he no longer performed, his voice in the world of classical music remained strong. He lived quietly in Hampstead, London, with his second wife, Irene. Even into his 90s, Brendel was reading, writing, and reflecting. On June 17, 2025, Alfred Brendel passed away peacefully at the age of 94. The world mourned the loss of one of its greatest musical minds. Tributes poured in from every corner of the classical world. Critics called him the conscience of the piano, the Beethoven whisperer, and the thinker who made music speak. But more than that, he was remembered as a kind man, a quiet genius, a poet of sound. His recordings continue to guide pianists. His writings continue to provoke thought. His life continues to inspire. In an age of instant gratification, Alfred Brendel taught us the power of patience. In a culture of viral virtuosity, he showed us the beauty of restraint. In a world where louder often means better, he proved that silence can be the most powerful sound of all. Alfred Brendel may no longer walk the stage, but his spirit is there in every thoughtful pause, every graceful phrase, every pianist who dares to listen first and play second. If you've never heard Brendel's Beethoven, start today. Not to be impressed, but to be moved. Because when Alfred Brendel sat down to play, the music, at last, was truly free.